So I'll do a quick video to tell you the differences with the Australian imported and converted Silverado. It's a 2021 1500 LTZ with tech pack. It's not that old, only got a couple thousand Ks on, but I've got a whole bunch of things that I've taken note that I think new buyers should probably be aware of, especially with the differences in Australia and what conversions and features get disconnected to meet local regulations. So first up, there's work lights up there. They're disconnected to meet ADR rules. There's also work lights here and another one, a tow hitch light here. Now the wiring is mostly there and the button's still in the car, so if you want to pull apart the trim and get all those lights back, you can do that. Probably illegal. Plenty of other cars have aftermarket lights in those locations, so I can't imagine it being a problem. Big surprise was, with all the features this car has, it doesn't have automatic wipers. So auto headlights, lane keeping, autonomous braking, so many features this car has, doesn't have auto wipers. Big shock to me. Tried turning on auto wipers for a while before checking. Yeah, no, it really doesn't have auto wipers. Being Australian, it's right-hand drive. Obviously it's converted in Australia at the old Holden affiliated factory, I believe, Walkinshaw. They also do the Rams there and a couple other vehicles. They've got good videos online of the process and whatnot, but they're obviously marketing. I paid for this car with my own money, so no sponsorship or compromised review there. So being right-hand drive, American floor mats don't fit, a couple other things don't quite work, so the parts that you import are sometimes Australian specific and pretty expensive. So floor mats, for instance, I think are like $500 for something. If you bought the left-hand drive version of, would only be, you know, $250 if that. So weird baby seat tether points. They do a path from the headrest to a center point. It's a bit weird when you first find out. Works fine once you know what it's all about, but my ones came snagged on the back of the seat from factory, so it made it extra hard to work out what was going on here. The rear aircon, it's not that powerful. If you buy the version from the aftermarket importers, instead of going straight through the GM affiliated company, they do an upgraded rear aircon, and yeah, that's better for Australia, obviously, but I haven't had a problem with the aircon in this car yet, but we haven't hit those 40-degree days yet since owning it. Big problem with this LTZ tech pack is the wired. They do away with the wired Android Auto, and it's wireless Android Auto. So if you go through a location that has a really strong Wi-Fi interference, it will cut out, and if you do that enough times, it will stop auto reconnecting, and you'll have to, you know, maybe restart the phone, restart the car, manually redo the connection. It's quite annoying, especially in certain, like there's spots that I'll drive down the same road and I'll know it's going to cut out the same spot. Toll gates over east apparently a big thing, but it's a fairly common complaint on the forums. When I got it, because this car's been imported from America, it's sat on a ship, gone down a second assembly line, then it's been shipped 5,000 Ks from one side of the country to another, sat around in a yard and whatnot. Fuel is really old, and a lot of people have had an experience of the first couple Ks that they've driven, the fuel is absolutely off and the car runs like shit. I actually took the car back and I was like, no, have it back. They assured me to drive it hard for a bit, and yeah, within 20 Ks it came good, but yeah, that first bit was absolute dog shit. Car stalling at traffic lights, they were telling me, oh, you just don't know the stop start. Bullshit. I've been driving this car for thousands of Ks now, and those first 20 k's or 20 minutes, probably 10 k's. It was a dog. So another annoying thing is if you've got your cameras on your boat or caravan connected up to the universal points on your existing car, these camera connections are GM specific, and your cameras, I think, about $900 a camera. And obviously you can't just borrow your mate's caravan and plug the cameras straight into the back and get all the features. You've got to have GM specific cameras wired into the back of the ute. No one's making a patch yet, commonly referred to on the forums, that there's still no solution to that, but I think that's not an Australian specific thing. The lane departure assistance with this car is it works pretty well. A lot of the time you don't know it's working, and so just keeping you in the lane. But if you say it puts you back into the lane when you've drifted out to the left, you'll be overcorrected and go out the right. It doesn't do a lane holding, it just swerves you back in if you've gone over. I really like how invasive it is. It does it quietly, and you can, if you're looking in the glove box or something while driving and you wander out your lane, it will gently guide you back in. No alarms or buzzing. It's just a flashing indicator on the dash panel. It's pretty nice. That doesn't do the other thing which Toyotas do, and that's put the brakes on. So driving the work ute, which is a current model Hilux compared to this, that thing I do not drive with the lane assistance on, because it's way too aggressive the way it slows down the car and throws you around. It's not at all a pleasant system comparatively. When you're doing reverse, if you got your tow ball on, it'll pick up the tow ball as an obstacle and set off all the alarms and vibrations, and then because it's spazzing out with the tow ball there, it will just turn off the rear parking assistance. I guess that's understandable. There is an obstacle there that it's picking up, but yeah, just previous cars didn't have a problem with having a tow ball left on. Depending on where you're driving, fuel consumption, I would say, compared to the work Hilux, which is just a trade, not even carrying many tools. I'm an engineer, so my tool's a laptop and maybe a tape measure. They are comparable on fuel, so massive difference in size and luxury and features that you get between these cars, but comparable on fuel. I'd say the Hilux is maybe 10% worse. It is a turbo diesel and this is a petrol, but litre for litre they're very similar. I'd say this can do better on the flats. Being a diesel, it does a lot better once you get into the hillier area, and if you're putting your foot down in this car, it'll suddenly start chewing a lot more fuel than you would ever use in the Hilux. The Hilux just seems to sit 10 litres to 100 to 15 litres to 100 depending how you drive it. This one I can go from 9 litres to 100 to 25 litres to 100 depending on how I drive it. That's without a load. But just on the fuel consumption, this car uses about 13 around town. I can do 10 if I'm driving without traffic. Comparatively, that thing does 10 on the regular. So I'm very impressed with the fuel economy of this car when you want to get fuel economy out of it. But if you're hooning around, expect 20s. People who have the aftermarket chip to reduce the throttle lag, which is and turn off the automatic cylinder deactivation. Obviously they're turning off fuel saving features of the car. They can't get their car under 20, which I don't know why you'd want to be driving around having to stop at the petrol station twice as much, but they obviously love it. The doors, they're pretty huge for in the car parks, but it's quite convenient to get in and out of this car. With the height, you don't need to open the door that much to be able to squeeze in if it's a tight car bay. smaller cars, you know, open the door wider because, you know, you got to crawl, you got to bend in. Let's see what other things to complain about this car. A lot of people put a long range tank on it in Australia, big distances, towing big loads. If I'm doing a trip up north and I'm towing a boat, doing 25 litres to the 100, and it's 400 k's between you know, good fuel stops. You don't want to be fueling up at any old petrol station. You want to be fueling up where A, it's cheaper, and B, the quality of fuel is better. You're not going to make it, so you're going to have to make those stops at the dodgier roadhouses. I think it's only 90 litre fuel tank, which, you know, without a load, and well, no, it's fine, but 200 litre tank from stock would be a good improvement. The towing capacity is, you know, a big selling point on this car. Realistically, you can't tow over 3.8 ton. You're going to be really limited by, you know, you want at least 10% of your trailer weight as towable down weight. If you've got 300 kilos towable down weight on a 3 ton, or let's say 400, you've only got 200 kilos left to play with realistically in the cab. You're going up north with 4 mates to go fishing. You're well over, you know, you want to tow your 4-ton boat up, you're well overweight, and there's nothing you can do about it because you can't buy a GVM upgrade in most states for this car. So yeah, GVM severely limited by the lack of aftermarket upgrade in at least Western Australia. I think Victoria and New South Wales are the same. I think Queensland's the only state you can get a GVM upgrade aftermarket. If you purchase through one of the aftermarket importers, they're going to be able to give you the GVM upgrade from stock. You pay about $10,000 premium with a couple other niceties thrown in. I think that's $10,000. I didn't know about it when I bought it. Probably would have liked to have gone that way, but obviously OEM support with the GM affiliated importer is a big selling point. So let's see, when they do the conversion, obviously from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, some of the features don't end up so good. So I'm pretty sure they don't change the side this is over, which is silly because they remove the 110 volt AC plug from the cab, and they just put a blanking plate. Why they don't move the trailer control over to there, so you don't have to reach right across to do your manual trailer braking. Yeah, it's another annoyance with this car. These I'm sure must be bigger in America. These are really small glove boxes for the size of this car. It's smaller than the Hilux, but I imagine that's just because in the Australian version there's a whole lot of electronics and whatnot that's just left behind here in the dash from when they did the conversion. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they all have really small glove boxes. There's plenty of storage though. Otherwise you've got pockets here and cavernous center console, under seat in the rear, and obviously you've got your tub. That's a good sized tub. Let's see what other things. Lacking spare parts in Australia. So compared to a Toyota where there's a dealer in every country town, you're going to be struggling to get spare parts for this if you break down outside of a major city. And even in the major cities, especially with global supply chain issues, spare parts for this car are a couple weeks wait at the minimum. And with that, there are known issues with this car. There's a batch of cars that were built with dodgy lifters, and they're saying about 3% experience failure. So if you're looking on a forum with thousands of owners in Australia commenting, there's going to be a couple a week that get impacted by that. There's no easy way to downshift in this car. You got to go into the trailer mode or the limited upper gears. So if you're sitting in L9 in that and you want to drop down 3 gears because it's 10 speed before you do an overtake, it's quite inconvenient. So yeah, lack of flappy paddle quick gear shift options is a problem with this car. If you want to turn on your trailering features, you need to connect the trailer lights up, and they need to be working. So if you've got one light out on your trailer, it can throw out your trailering features. You can't manually just turn them on, which is a bit annoying. Things like your blind spot camera feature, I think the reversing stuff, yeah, it's only happened once that the trailer lights were bust, but annoying not to be able to just manually override it. Australian suspension, most people prefer a much firmer ride than what comes stock in American cars. Very floaty, people call it like a boat. You throw in aftermarket suspension and fixes that right up, so it drives more traditionally for Australian market. You can put in good quality aftermarket suspension from the dealers. Walkinshaw offer two packages, one's with a 2-inch lift, one's with a stock height retention. I think they call it the tune damper option. I'd recommend that if you want to do that from stock, well, from the dealer. Otherwise, that's my neighbour with his shit sounding diesel. That's the other thing, people love putting exhaust on these. Why you need to feel the need to tell everyone you're a dickhead, I don't know. Yeah, when you're off-road with the suspension, because it's so boaty and floaty and bouncy, something that you're clearing quite easily, as soon as the car rocks, it will then eat up all that clearance and go crunch against your side steps. It's quite annoying. So roads that shouldn't be an issue, because it just bounces so much and uses up all your down travel, you start bottoming out earlier than you should. It's got heated mirrors, but there's no button to turn that on. You have to turn your rear demister on to get your mirrors to heat. I love the the remote start option. Never had it on a car before, but now wouldn't want a car without it. Same for the ventilated seats and the steering wheel heater. All things are like, will I really use that? Love them. Now, just fantastic features. With the conversion, it's a common complaint that the heads-up display on the LTZ Tech Pack doesn't line up with where you normally have your head. So imagine I'm sitting in the driver's seat. You want to sit in this position. You kind of got to have your head up there to one side, which is unnatural driving position to be able to see the whole heads-up display information. You can adjust it a bit, but you still got to sit over to one side that you wouldn't normally. Most people, I think, lean into the center of their car, lean on their center console more than to lean against the side mirrors. B-pillar, but yeah, common complaint. Not much you can do to fix it either. You can still see the speedo. That's the only one I care about on the heads-up display in any position, because that's slap bang in the middle. But yeah, you do lose the side of the heads-up display. And in the rear seat, I love that you can still sit between the two kids in the back. You can fit an adult there quite comfortably. It's two child seats and a middle seat. Most cars, you're sitting bitch in the back if you need to carry someone there, but for us, it's comfortable enough that we'll happily sit there, look after the baby on a trip. But that armrest definitely isn't comfortable on your back. Enough space, but yeah, just wish they didn't have that armrest. It's not really useful at all. And yeah, I think that's it for the negatives on this car. Overall, love it. It's a great car. Compared to buying a 200 series and chopping it, I think you're not even going to get close to the features this car has. But yeah, if you're buying one of these, take it for a test drive. If you're thinking about the Trail Boss, really consider the difference. Test drive both of them, really compare what you're missing out with. I don't see why you'd buy a Trail Boss over this. Yes, you're saving $10,000, but I really think the benefits for this one are worth the 10,000 extra. And if you're buying, consider whether you go GM or an aftermarket importer for your GVM purposes, because yeah, it's got no problem towing. Being overweight does it fine, but legally you could get in a lot of mess. You know, if you're relying on an insurance payout and they go, oh, you're about 300 kilos over on your GVM, we're not paying that. That would be a very expensive lesson.